Hey, what's up? It's Patrick Gnarly. I just want to let you know this is the definitive video for all the gear I use on the show. So if you have a question about picks or strings or pickups or what amp I use, all that stuff will be answered in this video. And if you want to buy it, there's going to be a link in the description or wherever it is now. It'll be all there. But just so you know, this is a commissionable video. I do get money every time you buy something. I get a little piece of it. But that's the good news because you're supporting the show every time you buy something. So if you're thinking, oh, he probably is sponsored. I'm not. I'm not sponsored by anybody. I'm sponsored by you, buddy. So the idea is if you buy some of these picks, you buy some strings, I get a little piece of it, and then that's good for supporting the show. So don't feel bad about it. I don't. But if you want to learn what I use, I'm going to show you a bunch of video. I can't go super in depth on the settings I use. I'm going to keep that for the people that are subscribing, either on Patreon or TikTok, etc. So if you're a subscriber, go to the link in my bio for that. You will see how to get everything set up the way I do. But if you just want to see what I use to just buy it and use it yourself, go for it. It's perfectly fine. So without further ado, here's all the equipment I use on the show. Enjoy. Let's start off with the most inexpensive stuff first, and then we'll move on to the most expensive stuff. So let's keep going. So the picks that I use, those are the most inexpensive thing you can buy. The picks I use are the Dunlop Tortex .73 yellows. These are a very common pick. You can go to almost any guitar store in the world. You can probably find these. So if you look, mine are pretty sharp on the edge. That's because I do that by hand. So you can go to the store and buy something called the Flexes. Those are a little bit sharper, but they're a little bit shorter for some reason. So Dunlop, please make a sharp that's not short or long because they make different ones of it. Anyways, you can also get the Dunlop Sharps, but they're like a couple millimeters longer. It's really weird. But they usually come like this. So if you look, it's got like a rounded edge, kind of like a fingernail, not quite. But if you look at mine, you should be able to see it right there. So this is the one that I like to sharpen it to. So it's a bit sharper. But if you look at them in depth, you should be able to see that difference. Not a big deal, but I like to sharpen mine just a bit. You can use carpet, you can use sandpaper, whatever. But it gives it a little bit of a better attack. It's a little faster with how you pick. But yes, the Dunlop Tortex .73s, the yellows. Those are the ones I use. Again, links below. You can grab them. I highly recommend them. Great picks. You do go through them quickly if you play for a couple of hours. If you want to get one that lasts a bit longer, the greens are good. I think that's .88. So if you want to get a stronger pick that also has some flex, get the .88s, the greens. Those are great too, in my opinion. But get whatever pick you want. Again, these are recommendations. These are things I use. You don't have to get everything I use. Try them out, see if you like them, and we'll move on from there. And then as far as strings goes, yeah, if you want to know what I use on this guitar, this is the Stratobastard. We'll get to that later. I use 8s on this guitar. So if you really like this guitar and you want to play for hours and hours without having your hand cramp, the idea is I use 8s from Ernie Ball. So this is an example of a pack that I use. I get the 3-pack. It saves you a little bit of money because you're going to buy the strings anyways, right? So I get the 8s. If you look, it says 8 right there. So the idea is when you go to a guitar shop or something like that, most people don't say, can I get extra slinkies? They usually say, can I get a pack of Ernie Ball 8s? They go by the last string in the pack, the thinnest string. That's usually what gauge you go by. But that's only on that guitar. So anything that's full scale at standard tuning, I use 8s on it. So if you're looking for strings for a half step down guitar, usually what happens is, let me explain this. So if you're trying to go down in tuning, right? So if you're trying to go lower, half step down, full step down, C, whatever. Drop Z. You have to compensate with the string gauge because I'm used to playing thin strings, right? So if I want to go down tune those, they're going to feel like spaghetti even more. So most people, what they'll do is for every letter you go down, you go up a gauge in strings. So for example, if I play with 8s on the white Strat, and this is the same scale length, right? So from here to here, it's the same length, 25.5. The idea is I have to go up a gauge. So from 8s, I go to 9s. So on that guitar, I use Ernie Ball Super Slinkies. So this is the Benjicaster. So any Strat that I play half step down, I use 9s. I use Ernie Ball Super Slinkies. And then if I want to go, for example, if I want to go half step down on a short scale guitar, this is only 24 inches from here to here. So the idea is that it's a great guitar, I love it, but it's really difficult to get the string gauge right. But I got my string gauge right. I use 10s on this guitar, which is still a little bit lower than most people. Lower as in the gauge. So this is tuned to half step down, but I use 10s on a Jaguar. So if you want to get the right strings for the Jaguar that I like, get 10s. See, a lot of people have bigger hands than me. I have pretty small hands compared to most people, but I play for a lot longer. See, I used to use really heavy gauge strings. It's not that big of a deal, but I didn't see a benefit as far as the tone. Like, it just sounded like a string to me. So I went from 12s to 11s to 10s to 9s all the way to 8s. That's a huge drop. Did it over a couple of years, but it felt fine to me and it sounded fine. So the idea is that, like I said, if you go down in your tuning, you got to go up in your gauge. And since this is shorter scale, the idea is that there's even less tension on the strings. So for Jaguars, I use Ernie Ball regular slinkies, the 10s. That's what I use on this guitar. But again, try out different strings, see what you like. Your hands and your ears are different than mine, so check it out. So for the guitars that I play in either C standard or C sharp standard, I like to use the Power Slinkies from Ernie Ball. These are the 11s. So again, the scale length matters. This is 24 3/4 of a scale length. So it's a little bit longer than a Jaguar, not by much. But the idea is you have to go up in your gauges if you're going down in your tuning. I'll say it again. But I use, for this guitar, this is what I play change in the House of Flies, things like that. Power Slinkies, excellent for me. They fit my hand perfectly. They feel great. Use 11s if you want to get that kind of feel. And if you want to get my Gibsons, I use 9s on my Gibsons, which is, again, lower gauge than most people use. Most people use 10s. I use 9s. And I feel that they're more comfortable. I can play it for a lot longer. Bending's a lot easier. So if you want to have something a little bit easier to play, get some thinner strings, especially if you got smaller hands. I think the scale length and the neck is not as important as the actual strings itself. That's important. Get it set up, get some good strings, feel a lot better. I mean, it all adds up, don't get me wrong, but I think that's the most important. So we went through strings. We got Ernie Ball, either 8s, 9s, 10s, or 11s. So different strings, different tunings, different guitars, different sounds. So strings, relatively inexpensive, not a big deal. I highly recommend those. And then as far as pedals go, you can see there's a Boss TU3 right there. Great standard pedal. Also, real quick, the subscribers, there's a video that goes way more in depth on my settings and what I use these pedals for. But just for the sake of simplicity, for this video, I'm just going to go over what pedals I use, whether I recommend them or not, because there are some pedals I don't. But if you want to see how I actually get them set up, go check out the video on the subscription platforms, Patreon, TikTok, etc. You will find my exact settings and how I get what I get as far as sounds and recordings and playing live. But these are what I use live on the show. TU3 for tuning. We got a Boss DS2, the turbo distortion, which they don't make new anymore, sadly, so I'll have to put a different comparable pedal in there. And then I have a Box of Rock from Zvex. Excellent pedal. That is a wonderful one. I love this one. There is also a Big Muff Pi, the bass muff. So if you look, it says bass right there. The bass muff sounds great. Then there's a Johnson Chorus. That pedal sucks. Don't buy that. Just get any other pedal. You probably get away with it. And then if you look a little bit further on, that is the Walrus Audio Slow. So if you like a watery, kind of crazy chorus sound to the reverb, that's an excellent pedal. Highly recommend that. You can grab that. Those they make new right now, at least. And then this is a pedal they don't make anymore. This is the RV5 from Boss. That is a digital reverb. They're on RV6. So I have not used that one just yet, but I imagine it's going to be very, very close. They usually get better with time, not worse. And then if you look in the very chorus, little tiny guy, that is the Pogo Lab analog delay. I did a whole video on that one. So if you want to pick that pedal up, it's super cheap. I put a video on TikTok that you can actually watch. It's excellent. I highly recommend it. It is like 30 bucks. It is one of the best pedals I've ever used, especially for the money. Go pick one of those up if you can. I do get a commission off that one specifically too. But the idea is that I highly recommend it. I used it on the show. So anyways, those are my pedals in order. There are more pedals that I use in recording. Once again, if you are a subscriber, you'll see what ones I use in recording. But this is what I use on the show. Nothing changed. There you go. All right, now let's talk about guitars. So this is probably going to be one of the more expensive ones, but not as expensive as you think, actually. So let's start off with the one that everybody really likes, the one people know me for. This is the Stratobastard. So it's really called the Partsguar. If you look, it has my name on there. But I thought that was kind of lame, so I decided not to call it that. But I left the thing on there because I think it's kind of funny. But this is the Stratobastard. If you look, it's missing the middle pickup. That's a big thing that people ask me about. A lot of times people will come in and be like, what pickup is this? What pickup is this? What's going on with this? Let's get into all of it. So if you are interested in the actual model of guitar, this is a 2006 made in Mexico Strat. That's right. It's just a cheap, find it anywhere Strat. The neck is a little smaller from that year, but lucky for you guys, I know about the dimensions of the neck a little bit better than most people. So if you get a Strat today, like one of the Player 2 Strats, that's pretty similar in the neck width. So it's like a little bit of a smaller neck. The black logo 2012-ish Strats, they had a little bit wider of a neck. And so did the American Standards, stuff like that. So they were a little bit too wide for my hands. So it took me a long time to find a replacement guitar for this. So it took a while, but yeah, that's a factor. It's actually, I can prove it too. So if you look, this will probably be very hard to see, but if you look, see the nut right here, the roller nut? There's like a lip. You can see it. That means this nut is too wide for this neck. It is like 1 millimeter too wide. So if you look at these guitars, if you find a guitar with a slightly slimmer neck this way, like the nut width, it's only 1 millimeter, but I can feel it. A lot of people can too. But luckily they switched back to this like narrower nut width. But the nut is the wrong size. There's a little overhang, but it feels fine. It's only 1 millimeter. But the neck, that matters. So on the 2000s silver logo, as they call it, the silver logo made in Mexico Strats, that's a big deal. Middle pickup, why is it missing? So when I play guitar, the way my hand is, I like to palm mute a lot. So if you look, my hand is right where that pickup is. So I could have just lowered it into nothing, but I decided, you know what? I don't use that pickup anyways. I'm just going to take it out. Now that I've gotten older, it's been almost a decade after I've done that, I think the middle pickup's all right. It's not a big deal. I don't ever use it most of the time. I do use it sometimes, very, very seldomly. But I just don't use it, so I just kept it out of there. On my other Strats, you can see I left it in there. It's a little more work to get it out, but I thought this as a statement, pop it right out, put some black electric tape over it, looks cool. But it's also a little more acoustically loud because of that. It's kind of like a sound hole, but not a big deal. It's not that dramatic, trust me. All right, so no middle pickup, and then if you notice, I only got one volume knob. Real quick, I'm watching the video back. I wanted to explain something. So I took the tone knobs out of the Stratobastard because I never use tone. I have my amp set the way I want it to. I don't want it to sound real nasally. I just keep it on 10 the whole time. And I read somewhere that if you take the tone knob out, it makes it a little bit brighter, a little bit more full. So I was like, all right, I'll just take it out. And I've been doing that to all my other guitars ever since. My Gibsons I don't do it on because it's more obvious that it's missing knobs and I don't really notice a huge difference. But I mean, yeah, I just don't do it on my Gibsons and other guitars just because it's kind of more of a hassle and you got to rewire it. But the Strats, it's a bit easier. But yeah, I took the tone knobs out because I thought it would sound better. And I'm going to keep it the way it is. So it's kind of a nice little signature part of the guitar. So anyways, back to the video. So I rewired it. So it has a 3-way toggle selector. I do not like blade switches. I think that they're kind of cumbersome. They're a little too loosey-goosey for me. They're not exact. I've only felt one guitar where I was like, oh, this is a good 5-way pickup selector. And that was a custom shop Strat. And that was only within like a month ago. Here's a great example of a blade switch that I really don't like. I'm probably going to replace this part. Watch this. Look how much, like that does not flick into place. It's like fighting me. This is like way better. Look at that. It's not good, but it's better than it was over back down here. Like, it's so slow, and it's like not precise. Look, where's that at? Is that position 4 or 3? Oh, look at that. That's crap. Anyways, I don't like blade switches. This is an American. So I never liked blade switches, even on tellies. Don't like them. There's just too much travel. Toggle switch. Watch this. That's it. Look how quick that is. And you can go to the middle position too if you want. And I kind of wired mine wrong, so it's kind of out of phase. So it sounds really thin, but it has its uses. But toggle switch like a Gibson, great pickup selector. Really like it. I think all Fenders should have them. I think the blade switches are lame. But again, I only have 2 pickups, so it kind of fits better. If you have a middle pickup, 5-way pickup selectors kind of make sense, but whatever. It's not a big deal. And then if you look, I got the bridge humbucker. A lot of people ask me what this is. This is a DiMarzio Super Distortion. Love this pickup. I really like ceramic magnets on my pickups. I don't play clean a lot, and when I do, it's still a little dirty. So the DiMarzio Super Distortion sounds great all the time. Love this pickup. I really enjoy it. But if you look, it's really low. I don't put it against the strings very much. So the idea is that even though it's really wound up, it's backed off quite a bit. It's really low for a bridge pickup. But for some reason, I like how that sounds. It's got a good balance to it, even though it is a Super Distortion. And then for the neck pickup, this is interesting. So this is not a true single coil. This is a samarium cobalt noiseless pickup. They don't make it anymore, unfortunately. So if you want to pick it up, you got to find one used. And honestly, I don't think the samarium cobalt makes that much of a difference, but it's there. So technically, you're never going to be able to get my neck pickup sound unless you find a used one. Whatever that means. I think you could just get any noiseless pickup and throw it in there. M3s, the vintage noiseless, the hot ones, whatever. But the noiseless pickup, you could even get a rail pickup probably. As long as it's like a mini humbucker, that's what you're looking for. So the neck pickup on my Strat isn't a true single coil. It is a noiseless pickup, so it's like a little humbucker. But that is the neck pickup. So single volume, 3-way toggle, DiMarzio Super Distortion, and a samarium cobalt noiseless neck pickup. That is the secret to the sound with that, but there's also one more secret. If you look, this has a LSR roller nut. So this is metal instead of a traditional bone nut or something else, like a tusk nut or like a synthetic bone. So the idea is, if you listen, it's actually pretty loud. It transfers a lot of that string noise. It's very good. I think it stays in tune incredibly well. The hype is real with these. On all my other guitars, this stays in tune the best, and I have a very good feeling that it's because of that. So the idea is, if you want to get something that stays in tune a little better, I think having one of these roller nuts is great. Also, I put some change in a bottle cap in there to make sure that this bridge doesn't move, because I never use my tremolo. My trem never gets used. I think they knock you out of tune too quickly. It was just for Jimi Hendrix and Eddie Van Halen, basically, or Dimebag Darrell. If you're amazing, you have a great guitar tech, maybe get a tremolo, but not for me. So I don't really like using my trem, so I block it off. I just put whatever I can in there, and I put some extra springs. It's fine. I think it works perfectly. But yeah, that's the whole guitar. It's a lot simpler than it actually seems. You could probably do these mods in a day. Just take it home. Get a bridge pickup, get a neck pickup, take the middle one out, wire a toggle switch, and then put this here. But I will say this, if you look, there's a missing part right here. There's also some wood missing. I don't know how well you can see that. But I had a kill switch in there, like Buckethead or Tom Morello. Never used it, so I took it out. I routed the wood and everything with like a chisel. Never used it. But that is the Stratobastard. I paid $400 for this. And it's my main guitar. Can you believe that? And then probably the second most used guitar on the show would probably be this Jaguar. I've been looking for this guitar for years. I am going to probably paint the headstock to match the body. I have the paint right here, so we'll get to that. But this is actually an interesting guitar. So it's kind of like the Stratobastard where I did modifications to it. So this one a little bit more. So this has a humbucker in the bridge. This is a Gibson humbucker. This is a 57 plus. So it's a little bit more distortion, a little more overdriven. Not by a lot, but it's there. But I have it almost touching the strings, if you can see that. So it's very high up. I love how this pickup sounds. It sounds fantastic, but I had to route the wood out because these aren't routed for humbuckers. Fantastic guitar. I put a 3-way pickup selector on there, just like a Kurt Cobain. I had to buy this little plate. The other one, I had to get a drill because they didn't have them yet. And I went zzz through the metal. It was really, really easy, actually. So I took the tone knob out, so there's no tone knob. I actually think about putting it back in, not because I use it, but because when I go to make sure my volume's all the way up, I try to go to like a phantom knob, and I go, oh yeah. So I think about putting it back on there. I probably won't. But yeah, Gibson style, 3-way toggle. Again, practice what you preach. It has the Gibson 57 Plus in the bridge. And then this is completely disabled. I do not use this. I think it looks pretty. I love the chrome. It looks cool. Don't use it. Never used it. So I disabled it. I took all the wires out. It's just for show. And then a lot of people will say, what's the dollar for? And that's because money shuts everybody up. No, I'm kidding. But if you listen, that's not that loud. It's still kind of audible, but if you take the dollar out, check this out. So I've removed the dollar from it being like really on there. So check this out. Much louder, huh? And this pickup, and this one even too, will hear that, and it's kind of annoying. Some people put a thing up here to cover that up. I don't find this to be too loud. Some people do for some reason, but this, definitely very loud. So I put a dollar there as a mute because it sounds better. But it's also kind of a funny joke. So I like that. Whenever I get my guitar worked on, a lot of the people will be like, is this like an honesty test? And I'll be like, ha ha ha, no. That's a string mute. There we go. Perfect. All right. And then the neck on this is actually a different neck. I like the 9.5-inch radius. For those of you who don't know what a radius is, the idea is that all guitars have a certain roundness to where the frets are. So this one has a little bit more round than most other guitars, and it's less round than most vintage Fenders. So vintage Fenders will use 7.25-inch radius. So the smaller the number, the rounder the circle. The higher the number, the flatter the circle. So if you look up radius, I'll show a picture on the screen what that means. But bottom line is, I like 9.5-inch radius. I think it sounds better. I think it feels better. You could bend the strings a little bit lower. I mean, like with a lower action. Because if it's rounder, that means the hill is higher. So when you bend, it'll like fret out with a lower action. Whatever that means. If you don't know what that means, whatever. But 9.5-inch radius and higher, that's what I like. 7.25, never really got into. Not a big fan of it. I bend too much with too low of an action and too light of strings for me to like it. I wish I did, but I just don't. So a lot of vintage Fenders are right out the window. So this is a 9.5-inch radius neck. This is a made in Mexico neck, and this is a made in Mexico body. This is the nitro finish body, so it's got this beautiful Lake Placid blue. Love this color. But the problem is it came with a vintage neck, so I had to get a different neck. So I have the neck in my other room. I still got to sell it. But yeah, it's got a Pau Ferro. It doesn't have rosewood, but it looks pretty dark. I like it. It's not a big deal. But if it was darker, I would have liked it more. But Pau Ferro's fine. It's not a big deal. I paid for it. I enjoy it. And then maybe one day it'll be worth something because it's Pau Ferro, and they don't usually do that anymore. They switched back to rosewood. So, but if you look, it's still dark. But it's not nearly as dark as other rosewoods. And some rosewoods are a little bit lighter, but it has the 9.5-inch radius. This is just the stock neck pickup. It's really quiet, actually. I might replace it with something a little hotter compared to the bridge pickup, especially since it's so close. So when I'm playing through my real amplifiers, if I'm playing through my bridge pickup, I flick it up to the neck, it drops in volume considerably. So that is a factor. So you have to be playing with a little bit of drive for it to even out. I hate these bridges. Fender, stop making these bridges. Nobody likes them. Even the people that like vintage correct stuff. Make a better bridge, dude. I love you guys, but please make a better bridge. So this is the standard bridge that comes on it. If you know anything about Jaguars, the idea is that they're just not very good. The strings will pop off just like that, and it sucks. I had to get fingernail polish and put it in there so it hardened so they wouldn't move around and like buzz. Can you imagine that? It's not permanent. You can just get fingernail polish remover, put it on there, it just strips it right off. So if I need to reset it for some reason, I can. No big deal. But yeah, this is the blue Jaguar. It is if you want the actual term for it, this is the, it's like a mixed one. So it's got a Ventera neck. The made in Mexico HH, it's 9.5-inch radius. And then the body is the nitrocellulose lacquer finish in Lake Placid blue Fender Jaguar. So fantastic guitar. Love this thing. The pickups are great. Sounds great. Feels great. Looks great. Love this guitar. One of my favorite guitars I've ever owned. It just happened to be the right color too, after all that work. This is probably the other guitar that most people identify me with. This is nicknamed the Evil Jaguar because it's all black and it has this really cool sticker on it. It's a Junji Ito sticker and also has the dollar. So same idea with this guy. 3-way pickup selector. It's got a toggle switch on there. This one actually does have, look how loose this is. I gotta fix that. This has the tone knob, so when I turn it up, I check both for some reason, even though this one's falling off. But the most identifying factor with this guitar is the black electric tape. So this was and still is candy apple red. I don't like red. I don't like candy apple red. I don't know. I don't like it. So I decided to do what Black Flag did with their guitar. I decided to get black electric tape, put it all over it. And it just looks cool. I like it. But the problem was the nitro finish and the black electric tape kind of caught my arm. It was like really sticky. So I just decided to wear that off. So it's just wood. Now it feels great. No problem whatsoever with that. But this is a 50th anniversary made in USA Fender Jaguar. So they're not going to make this guitar ever again. This was a 1-year only production model. There's a couple things different about it. If you look compared to the other Jaguar, this tremolo has been moved up for a better break angle. This one actually has the mastery bridge, which this doesn't really need. This had the other bridge on that guitar. It was fine. That break angle. Hey everybody, real quick, just wanted to pause the video. I brushed past the mastery bridge while filming that. It deserves a lot more respect than that. It's a really good bridge. If you own a Jaguar or Jazzmaster, just pick one up. They're like $200. You can buy it directly from them. Don't buy it for resale. Go get one from directly from them. They make some of the best parts you can buy for guitars. They're awesome people. They make really good stuff. Again, I'm not endorsed by them or anything like that. This is coming straight from the heart. If you can afford one, get one. It is one of the best pieces of equipment you'll ever buy for a guitar. And it's very future, it's very alien kind of, but it's exceptionally well engineered. And I think Fender, stop screwing around, make something like the Mastery Bridge, or have Mastery Bridge make them for you. Anyways, just wanted to say that real quick. Back to the video. Being moved fixes so much. So if you could find one of the classic player guitars where the Jaguars where they actually moved this up, I highly recommend them. They're like, that fixes a lot of issues. It really does. They were smart. So they could use all their same parts, but the problem is people are like, it's not what they did in the 60s. So people didn't buy them as much, whatever. But they're worth a lot of money now. People are smart now. But if you can find one, get one. So this is the Made in USA model. It has binding on the neck and it has blocks. Again, they've done that before in vintage guitars. They do it a lot. So this being on a new guitar, it's excellent. I love it. It looks pretty. I prefer the dots without the binding, but this guitar is so good. You know what? Perfect. It's mine. So, excellent guitar. This one has a different bridge pickup and a different neck pickup than the other Jaguar. This has a super distortion. We're back to the DiMarzio, baby. We got DiMarzio super distortion in the house again, and then we have a hot Jaguar pickup. So this one sounds excellent. So when you go to the neck pickup, there's no drop in volume. It sounds great. It's just a little cleaner. So I like this guitar. I play this in half step down with a drop C sharp, so I can play like heart-shaped box. My Own Summer, I do that a lot on this guitar. There's a lot of great things with this guitar. It feels great. Another secret thing, well, not really secret, it's just not really well known, is that the neck pocket angle where the actual neck fits in, usually they're supposed to be flat, but it has a little bit of an angle in it. So you don't have to shim the neck. You don't have to get like a piece of paper or a pick or something like that to stick in there. On the blue Jaguar, I did. I did have to shim the neck, but I only used a piece of paper, so it wasn't very, like, a lot of shim. This one doesn't need to be shimmed. It comes pre-shimmed from the factory. So, fantastic guitar. Love this thing to death. Hopefully, I'll get another one of these someday in the blue, because they made 3 colors. There was a burgundy mist, there was the Lake Placid blue, and there's candy apple red. Of course, I didn't get the one I wanted, but I got that one later. So, awesome guitar, love it, mastery bridge, super distortion, all the things that I like in a guitar on this thing. This is the Gibson Les Paul Traditional Pro 5. It has a glossy neck. All the other traditional Pros before that, 1, 2, 3, and 4, I believe, have satin finish necks. Not a big fan of satin. It's okay, but this is a gloss neck. This also has a little bit of mods on it, nothing big, but it's been modified. So the reason I got this guitar is because this has coil taps. So you can actually split to single coil, which I love. This is basically the poor man's Jimmy Page. Love Led Zeppelin, big fan of Jimmy Page, obviously. Look at the wall behind me. So if you press this button right here, you actually split the coil on the neck, which I play a lot. I like just a single coil neck. I'm not a big fan of humbuckers in the neck, but it's got it. So a lot of times when you see me play Everlong or if you see me play Imposter, things like that, this is the guitar, and it's for that reason. I like the single coil neck. I like the way it feels. It's got a great flat neck. It's very thin, and it sounds great. I love it. Big fan of Les Pauls, and it has that coil tap feature, push as they call it, and then it's fantastic. I never use the boost, so this battery is long dead. So if you wanted to engage the boost, you press that in. This is quite an expensive guitar. I was going to say good luck finding one. I was going to say in the Cherry Burst as well with this wonderful flame. The only reason I have this is because if you look close, you can see that the headstock was damaged. This thing like popped right off. So if you look in the back, you can see a really big crack as well. So this headstock completely blew off. But they put it back on. They did a great job. And it sounds great. I paid like $1,500 for this. Good luck finding one for that price these days, especially if you could find one with a repaired headstock. They're close to $3,000 now, but if you can get one, I highly recommend them. They're excellent. Made in USA. It's got the binding. You get the Cherry Burst. You get the flame. It's a pretty good flame on this one. Not amazing, but it's better than most of the ones I've seen these days. So you see right here, there's not as much of a flame, but whatever. Great guitar. Super cool thing. Love it. It is a 2019. I think it's 2019 Trad Pro 5. So, great guitar, love it. That's what I use for a lot of songs. And then one more note, this bridge pickup was replaced. This has a Gibson 500T, one of my favorite pickups as well. It's basically Gibson's version of the Super Distortion. Ceramic magnet, it's super high output, it sounds fantastic, love it. As soon as you flick this down position, it is just distortion. So, very good pickup, and if you look closely, this is just between me and you, and everybody else who watches this. If you look, the pickup cover is not the right size. So the magnet little pole pieces the screws don't line up. So you can see they're kind of messed up, but I thought it was kind of funny. So I'll just keep it on there for now. Maybe I'll get some worn nickel ones, but yeah, you can see that doesn't actually fit properly. So don't tell anyone. All right, so here's another one people question me about all the time. They say, what is that? Why do you have that? Why is this upside down? So this is a left-handed Squier Standard Series. This color is not black. It's actually like a metallic. So if you look closely, you can see it's metallic, but whatever. See, I also put a bottle cap in there to block the bridge. Very funny. But this one's missing a string right now. I broke a string just before filming this. I will fix it, don't worry. But yeah, it's a left-handed guitar somebody gave me, and I said, you know what? I'm just gonna keep using it. I'm gonna flip this part right here so that it fits the heavy strings on the opposite side, so I can get like a Jimi Hendrix thing. But I like it. It sounds great. I like the pickups. It sounds fine. It's enjoyable. Everything's set up the way I like to, and it works. So don't be afraid of left-handed Strats. They're very well made. You can get away with it. But all the lefties, I'm sorry I took one away from you. You guys never have guitars too, so sorry about that, bud. But yeah, it's just a regular Strat from Squier. It's a standard. Nothing's really been modified except I took the nut off of the tone knob, pushed it in so my arm could fit there. Then I took the volume off this because my hand would also hit that. So that's it though. Nothing else has been modified except for the nut. And then I took the string tree off so that the brake angle was a little bit better. Anyways, that's it. Nothing special about this guy. You can buy, this is probably the cheapest guitar you've seen so far. So now this guitar you're probably not going to be able to buy because they are a like direct to buyer. They don't have like a retailer. So this is a Harley Benton SG kind of copy. It is the DC3 something. It'll say on the screen. I think it's DC350. But yeah, great guitar. It's just like an SG. It's very similar. But it's 24 frets. It's more similar to a Viper. I have a video about this guitar specifically, but yeah, nothing's been modified on this. This hasn't been modified. It just uses 11 size strings, so I can get down to the tension I need when I play, for example, Change in the House of Flies, things like that. So anything in that tuning. But yeah, great guitar. Really enjoy it. But yeah, this is one of the few ones you have to go to their website. Maybe they'll sponsor me someday or something like that. I doubt it. I'm really just trying to be sponsored by you guys. That way I can give my unbiased opinion. I can just give you whatever I need to. So, but I highly recommend these guitars. Excellent guitars for the money. There are better guitars, but they're more expensive. So I think if you're going to get a guitar, Harley Benton makes great stuff. That's just the truth. Really like them. It feels like an SG, but it actually feels more like a LTD Viper. So I'll put that in the description though. Those are great. As for my acoustic, this is a Seagull S-6, one of my favorite guitars of all time. I think these are probably the most well-priced guitar you can buy that's an acoustic. That's not a Yamaha. I love Yamahas. But I've owned this guitar for longer than I've been playing guitar, actually. This used to be my dad's. He decided not to play it as much anymore, so he gave it to me and my brother. As you can see, this thing is battle-scarred. This thing has been used a lot. I'm not going to get too much into it, but essentially made in Canada, cedar top. You got laminate back and sides. Sounds fantastic. I use electric strings on this. Don't tell anyone. These are 9s. But it just... it feels great. It sounds very good. It could probably sound better with better strings, but I don't know. It just feels better. I just like using 9s. They're great strings. You know me with my string gauges. I got different ones. But yeah, they're just Ernie Ball 9s. You should probably not take my advice on that. I mean, you can if you want to, but it'll sound better with 80/20 bronze or phosphor bronze. But it feels so dang good. So, really like this guitar. Again, the Seagull S-6, made in Canada. I don't need to say too much. There's been very little done to this guitar. I've been playing it for years. I did have to replace the nut at one point to compensate for the 9s, but that's just a me thing. It's not really going to make too much of an effect. But yeah, the Seagull S-6, you can buy one. You should. If you find a used one, get one of those too. They're excellent. Made very well. Yeah, every song you've ever heard that's an acoustic guitar on any of my records, it's this guy. I wanted to make sure everybody got the same thing, so that's it. So this is the Guitar Fame number 2. This is actually this is just a Squier Sonic Strat. Nothing too big, see Guitar Fame. It's like a $200 guitar. I love the pickups on this. These are like, I believe, don't quote me on this, I believe these are ceramic magnet pickups, and they're like staggered really well. I don't know if you can see that, but you can see the magnets are kind of sticking up over the actual pickup itself. Dude, these are really good pickups. I'm thinking about taking these out and putting them in something else, actually. And it's a fine playing guitar. It sounds great. It came with the bridge blocked from factory, which is great. You don't have to worry about tuning stability issues. But yeah, this is California Blue. It's a great color. I wanted to put white tape on it so I could write everybody's names on it. So that way every month I could probably take it off, but I just haven't done it yet. But fantastic guitar. Really love it. Been putting all the people that are auto renewals on here, so all the greatest hits up here too. Shout out to Benji, shout out to Sid, shout out to Ty BG, Shout out to iCow. Shout out to Ivy Tendril, our top gifters of all time. So if you ever donated, things like that, you get your name in gold. So thank you guys so much. You're in the video. But this is the Squier Sonic Strat. Again, this will be linked for sure in the video. It's a great guitar. Love how it sounds. It plays really nice. And this is something people don't talk about. The body is slimmer. Hold on. Let me get my regular Strat. Hold on. This is my standard Strat. Look how much thinner that is. It's like considerably thinner. It's very strange. I don't know why they don't advertise that, or at least they don't talk about it. But yeah, it's a thinner guitar, so it's a little more comfortable to play. But you get less, get less guitar literally. But if you're looking at a guitar between the Lefty Strat, that's a standard Squier, and this one, this is probably the better buy. This is probably what most people are going to want to buy. This thing sounds great and it feels great. So this, the Guitar of Fame, number 2, a Sonic Squier Strat. Awesome guitar. But if you're looking for something a little more metal oriented, a little sharper, pointy, this is the JS22 from Jackson. This is the original Guitar of Fame. So this is the first one. So if you're on this guitar, you are never coming off. This is everybody that subscribed me first. I will never change this guitar. Beautiful blue. Look at this metallic blue. Love it. It's so similar to the Lake Placid blue. But Lake Placid blue is rare, whereas this you could go to any guitar place and it'll be there. But Jackson guitar, it's got a little bit of a flatter, wider neck. So if you look right from here to here, it's a little wider and it's flat. So I'm not a big fan of those kind of necks, but if you're playing metal and you want to like play higher up and you're playing more intricately, that's what you got to do. Flatter neck, wider neck, more comfortable. This also came with a bridge that was blocked off, so you don't have to do too much to it. The tremolo is not going to get in the way. But the pickups sound great. I really like the bridge pickup. It sounds awesome. It's nice and distorted. It's probably ceramic magnets too. Again, I got lucky. I like ceramic magnets, which are the cheapest magnets you can get. They're not as clean sounding, but I don't play it clean that much. So 24 frets, super flat neck, and it's got like a kind of a contoured top too. So you see it's got a carved top. That's kind of expensive to do, but for 200 something bucks, great guitar. Love this thing. This is the original Guitar of Fame. Once again, this is the version 1. This is the Jackson JS22. Phenomenal guitar. Really like this thing. Pick one up. These will be linked as well. Love it. Super cheap. Like, guitars are so good these days. Like, if you had talked to me 10 years ago and you said, are you going to play Squier on the show? I'd be like, nah, probably not. They're great, dude. I love them. So this guitar is very special because it is probably the newest guitar I've gotten in a very long time. I used to have one of these back in the day. You can see a picture of it here. Phenomenal guitar. Way better than the original. So this is the Player 2 series. I am not endorsed by Fender or anything like that. Like I said, I just happen to really like this guitar. But the bottom line is that Benji, or Benjamin, depending on how you want to talk to him, has been so great to the show. Our #1 gifter of all time, #1 subscriber, all that stuff. Dude's so cool. Thank you so much, man. I decided to dedicate a guitar to him because he would always ask for D7, which is a Nirvana cover. So whenever I play it, I like to do the Live at Reading version, and Kurt plays a guitar that looks just like this. It has the Seymour Duncan. This is a cool rail, but it's a hot rail. I mean, they're very similar. This is like practically touching the strings. That's how high up it is. Sounds great. Love this guitar. The neck has like a really nice satin finish. Very similar to the Squiers, actually. Shout out to Squier for getting some stuff right. Again, I don't necessarily love satin finishes, but they did a good job with this. Gloss finishes, if you don't know, they protect the guitar a little bit better, like moisture leaving it and stuff like that, at least from what I've experienced. But the neck is smaller. This is a small neck on it. This actually has a smaller neck than my Stratobastard. So, again, great guitar. Love it to death. Decided to dedicate it to Benji for helping out the show, so I nicknamed it the Benjicaster. There's not much left to say other than it's just a great guitar. They did a lot of little things to make it better. Vintage tuners. It has like the smaller satin kind of finished neck. Super smooth. Replaced the bridge pickup. And then I think that's all I'm going to do to this. It just needed a humbucker in the bridge. Love this guitar. These are brand new at the time of this video. So if you want to pick one up, go for it. They're a little pricier than they used to be, but highly recommend them. And I'll give you one big reason why. You can visually see the quality. Look at this cavity. Look how precise this was milled. Like, I get it, they're using CNC machines and all that stuff, but guess what? It never looks like this. It is so, there's not a speck of paint. There's no overspray. They did such a good job with this. Let me show you my 2006 real quick. Just take a look. You're going to be like, oh, wow. Again, this is not a big deal, but look at this. Look at, like, you could see, I mean, again, this is 20 years old, but you could see the paint, how it's oversprayed all over. They just went psh, the whole thing. And there's like, you can see it's kind of messy in there. You can tell they cut a little bit of corners with this guy. But again, it's a great guitar. It's my favorite guitar. But that one, Player 2, dude, they did a great job. They really did. The neck, you can see how glossy this neck is. I like gloss. Most people have sweaty hands and they hate glossy necks. They're good. They're both great, dude. I'm so glad I didn't have to go buy a used guitar for way too much. I'm glad I could just go to a store, buy a brand new one, and basically pay what I paid years ago, you know, adjusting for inflation, stuff like that. So, you know, get a coupon if you can. Get 10, 15, 20, whatever you can get % off. Get one of the Player 2s. They're amazing. I barely have to do anything to it, and the craftsmanship is chef's kiss. Beautiful. But the Benjicaster, again, thank you so much, Benji, for helping out the show. If anybody wants to talk about being a sponsor, talk to Benji. Benji helps out a lot. All right, anyways, moving on. I'm going to show you guys some guitars I don't really play on the show. These I've never shown, so watch the video. Obviously, there's going to be a whole bunch of gear we go through, but these are two guitars you almost never see on the show, especially one because I don't play it on the show. It's my bedroom guitar. I play it over there, not over here. So check it out. So this is my American Pro 2. You can see it also has a bridge humbucker. This is a Gibson humbucker. I'm probably going to replace it with a Seymour Duncan JB. Big fan of these pickups. I've liked them for years. Just, you know, haven't really bought one. But I played many guitars with them, and I enjoyed them. So I'm probably going to replace this one with a JB. This is a Gibson 57 something. It sounds great, but the problem is that if you buy a Gibson pickup for a Fender, a lot of times what happens is that the legs are too long. You'll see in this picture the difference between like a Fender style bridge pickup and then a Gibson style one. The legs are long and you have trouble making sure it fits. But they sound great, but the problem is, yeah, that bridge pickup's really, really hard to fit in here. But this is an American Pro 2. I'm going to tell you right now, I love the American stuff. They got some great stuff, but compared to the Player 2, this is $1,000 more, and it feels very similar to the Player 2. Is it exact? No. This one has like a very soft nitro finish on the neck. The body feels more contoured. It has this little contour on the neck, things like that. But at the end of the day, I only bought this because I got a really good deal on it. So I only paid a little bit more than the Player 2. If you can find these used, you can get a good deal. But honestly, it's not much better. Like if anyone buys these at full price, again, I love Fender, but they are pretty pricey for what you get. You're getting a nitrocellulose finish, soft, but it's very similar to the Player 2. I think they're going to put more of their money into the Made in Mexico series after this because they're so similar. I mean, you're going to say, what about the frets? Yeah, the frets are better, but not by a lot. What about the finish? Yeah, the finish is better, but not by a lot. Not $1,000 more. But I got this guitar because I really enjoyed it. I wanted to have a Olympic white with a white-on-white pickguard kind of thing going on with a bridge pickup like that. So I wanted to make sure it felt great and looked great. But Rosewood, they didn't have the Player 2, or they didn't have the Player 2 yet. So Rosewood, this was the only way to get Rosewood. And I like it a lot. I like it a lot. But you could tell I'm kind of like, So I'm going to tell you right now, but if you could pay way less than $1,800, go for it. They're great. Comes with a case, all that stuff. But again, the neck is smaller on the Player 2, and while these feel great and sound great, I think $1,800 is a lot to ask for. And again, I'm telling you to buy stuff. So take my word for it. I'm telling you right now, if you can get one of these for less than the $1,800, get it. They're great. But the Player 2, I'm telling you, they're excellent. And now here's a guitar you almost never see on the show too. This is my Les Paul Custom. It is a 1987. This was a gift, basically. I had to pay for it, don't worry. But I paid less than I did for the traditional Pro. Can you believe that? This one also has a neck repair, but it was done much better than the other one. You can barely see it, but there's a crack there. Phenomenal guitar. Love this thing. The frets are getting smaller, sadly. It's 1987, so the frets have been played a long time. And the bridge pickup's been changed to the one that they use on the most modern one. That is the 498T. Love the pickup. Gibson makes great pickups. I highly recommend Gibson's pickups. But yeah, this guitar I don't play on the show often because I think it's kind of a show-off guitar, and it is really expensive new, even though I didn't pay that much. So I don't really play it that often on the show. But Les Paul Custom, phenomenal guitar. Really love this thing. I would say this is my number 2. Outside of the Stratobastard, this is probably the guitar I play the most when I'm writing. The neck is much smaller than most other guitars. Again, small necks. Play what you like. So if you've ever played like a 50s neck or a 60s neck from Gibson, this is smaller. I don't know who was making necks that day at Gibson, but it's a nice neck and I really like it. David Lay, when I used to work at a guitar shop in Falls Church, Virginia, he basically gave this to me. He said, I'm never allowed to sell it, and I never will, buddy. So thank you so much for selling this to me at such a great price. I'm going to use this for the rest of my life, man. So thank you again so much for this. Love this guitar. It's phenomenal. And then there is the 7-string. I don't use too often on the show, but I imagine if you are curious about this guitar, this is completely stock. Haven't done anything to it. This is a Ibanez Gio. This is the 7-string. I have the name up there because I don't remember what it is. But great color. Loved it. I paid $150 for it, used. This thing is awesome. The bridge pickup's great. The neck pickup's a little muddy. That's fine because, you know, it's a 7-string. But it sounds great. It feels great. It's reliable. The neck is smooth. It's got a satin finish neck. This one, again, this is one of those things where it's like there's almost no finish on this. So that's how a lot of these guitars are. But again, great guitar. Loved it for what it is. It's a 7-string that's pretty cheap and it works well and it's got a great neck. It's more of like a 2x4. So it's like it's rounded on the sides, but don't expect something thin. This is kind of a chunky neck. This is probably the biggest neck in my house. And it is a 7-string, but great guitar. Ibanez makes really great stuff. Highly recommend this guitar if you're looking for a 7-string. I bought it, so. And then I have my Yamahas. There is a Yamaha. This is the CGS102A. I've used this guitar to noodle around on in my room all the time. I write a lot of music on this. This is the short scale one. This is 3/4 scale for a guitar. Classical, very beautiful sound. This is what I play Something in the Way on the show. So if you really want to get a cheap sounding guitar, but is made exceptionally well, Yamaha, everything under $500. I'm going to put all the other Yamahas in the description below that I really, really like. Those are guitars with solid tops. They last a lot longer than other guitars, and they're not that expensive. Everything Yamaha makes under $500. Beautiful, wonderful guitars. Love them so much. Highly recommend them, especially these classical guitars. I've used them for years. Love them. Oh, straps. So if you want to know what straps I use, you never see the straps I use on the show because I don't stand up and play often. I love these straps. Hold on. Let me get them all. I only use one company for my straps. I would love to be sponsored. I only use one company's straps because I love them so much. There's a company called Levi's or Levy's. I've actually never heard them say it out loud. But you can see them with this like kind of stamp with the L. They do mostly leather work, but their cotton straps are amazing. I love these. These are going to be linked everything I could find from these guys. They're going to be linked below. I've used these guys for years. I don't even need strap locks with them. I probably could get one of the little rubber bushings. But, dude, every one of my guitars, that's not a joke, every single one of my guitars uses Levi straps. Love them. They just last forever. I mean, this guitar, this one I've had for 20 years. Look. It's got some of this one goes on the Evil Jaguar because it's got the electric tape stuff on it. But look at this. This thing is so durable. You'd never know this was 10 plus years old. You'd never know. Look I love these straps. You get really cool designs. They're very sturdy. They're very comfortable. And this like suede right here, perfect. It has never fallen, never had an issue. As soon as I got one of these, I was like, oh, this is perfect. So If you need to get a strap, get a Levi strap. These are going to be linked below. Grab these. They're excellent, comfortable, cool, and not expensive. So grab a couple of them, dude. Dude, they're great. All right, and now you're probably thinking, what amplifiers do you use, Patrick? I don't on the show. Live, I use different amplifiers. Maybe we'll make a video in the future for that. I don't play live in person enough to like really have a good feel for what amps I use live. I do have a couple amps in the next room. I'm not going to show them because I don't want to, get you thinking that I use them on the show. I don't. I use a program called Amplitude. I'm going to show it right here. Whether you can set this up the way I set it up, good luck. But I have it. I love it. It's incredibly easy to use. Everything is very intuitive. You don't really need to look up guides on how to do stuff. Everything you need to get is right there in the box. I love this program. It's excellent. But as far as real life amplifiers, we'll make that video another day. So if you've made it to the end, thank you so much for checking out my gear. I'm literally sweating talking about my gear because I'm so interested and I love it. If you have a question, leave it in the comments. If you want to DM me, you're more than welcome to. I'm most active on TikTok. I have an email. Check the link in my bio. It's all there. Let me know if you have a question. And if you want to buy something and you're like, how do I get this setting on there? Maybe I'll answer for you. So thank you so much for watching this. I hope this gets edited well. Sorry, future me, for a long video. But that's it. That's all the gear I use. If you want to pick up something, again, some of that money goes to me. I really appreciate it. I have no sponsors but you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was informative and you got some gear out of it. Thank you so much. Stay gnarly!